Hi, this is a video on how to make a timetable using aSc software, part 2. So in part 1, we looked at building the timetable framework, and in this part, we're going to look at creating the timetable. So part 1 really can be skipped if you just copy a ROS file from a colleague who has done the timetables before. If you just copy that, then you have the framework built. If not, you need to build your own timetable framework. So watch part 1 on how to do that. But in this part, we'll look at creating the timetable. Now, I'm sorry, aSc software does not just make the timetable for you. It's not quite that simple. You still have to do some element of pre-planning yourself. Here's some tips I've picked up. So the basic framework needs to be done separately from the software. You can just use a paper and pen just to write down which group, which teacher, how many hours, that's fine. Or you can use an Excel spreadsheet to work from. I like to build the Excel spreadsheet because it shows me total hours. I'll show you the version I made. You would always use the updated PDS for timetable hours and courses, so you know what the course codes are, how many hours they're needed for this term you're in. So I check that on the system. I personally like to email the teachers to tell them these are the courses we've got and ask them if they have any timetable preferences. You may think a teacher only teaches that particular course and that's their strength and they're happy with that, but A, they might want to change. And B, it's actually good to see where people feel their strengths are. So you get that email. Now always say, you know, it's subject to availability. A few footnotes there just to make sure that they don't attach it to they get what they want, but you have asked them. You would assign the teachers to the group. You'd calculate the total hours to make sure everything looks good. Consider anyone that might have any non-teaching workload. So you might have someone who has a special duty elsewhere. So you might need to think, okay, they only need 15 hours because they do 10 hours of something else. You need to think about any teaching teams. So which teachers might work well together. They collaborate, they reflect on their classes, they communicate the student issues. Think of that. And then consider any shared courses. So sometimes just to balance numbers, it might be better to have individual teachers per course, but sometimes it's quite unfair for one teacher to be on 30, whereas another teacher's down on 20, so you might need to balance it out like that. Okay, so here is my spreadsheet that I've made. I've used paper and pen many times just to work out the timetable pre-plan, but I like this little Excel that I've made. It just suits my course. So I've written all the courses along the top with 2 columns. I've written the groups, and then I've written the teachers. There are 2 little formulas that help me just to work out the total. So I have here the sum of these boxes. So when I type numbers in here, it's going to tell me how many classes those students have, so I'm aware. And then down here, I've got boxes to write in how many hours they've got, and in this, I've got the sum of those columns there. So for A1, I'm going to give them Bex for 7 classes. I'm going to give them Scalzi for maths. They're going to have Cristiano for physics. They're going to have Cristiano for chemistry. And they're going to have Cristiano for biology. For Arabic, they're going to have Pogba. There's 3 classes of Arabic. For Islamic studies, they're going to have 2 classes with Pogba. For history, they're going to have Robbo for 2 classes. Geography is only 1 class a week. Computer studies is with Mr. Giggsy. And then finally, Dave for PE. So as you notice, as I typed in those numbers, it's given me a total periods here of 32 because it worked out these columns. That's just the simple Excel that I made. But down here, it hasn't worked out my teacher hours because I want to be sure. So Bex has got 7. I'm going to type it in manually. Scalzi's got 6, Cristiano's got 2 + 2 + 1, 5, Pogba's got 5. Robbo's got 3, Giggsy's got 4, and Dave's got 2. So that brings my total, so I know how many teachers and how many periods they've got available there. So once I've entered all the classes, pretty much a common person teaching each class, I know that I've got 32 periods for everyone here. And now I see a problem because I've got Bex on 35 and I've got Scholesy on 30. That's too many hours. I know the timetable won't work. So luckily, I know that Mr. Giggs, he's not just a computer teacher, he's also an English teacher. So I can take 7 off Bex. He's now down to 28, still high, but it brings Giggsy up to 23. Great. And then the other person I need to look at is Scholesy. Okay, Scholesy, can't take 6 off him. Mr. Cristiano, he definitely can do a few hours. Tell you what, I'm going to split it between Scholesy and Cristiano. So Cristiano is going to do 2 hours there, and Scholesy is only going to do 4 hours. They can share that course, it's not a problem. Sometimes you need to do that. So now my total periods, so I know that everyone's classes has got the right number of periods, and I'm looking at my teachers. Yeah, the teachers are looking about right. Dave, he does a lot of other things. Robbo, he's got some other duties, but everyone else is 23, 25, 27, 28, so it's looking okay to build the timetable. So the next stage is to add the lessons to the aSc software. I'll put the steps on the screen, but this is something you need to watch happen. You need to right click on the class, right click. Then you go to lessons, new teacher, you add the teacher, you add the subject. The class should already be there because you right clicked on it. You can join classes if you need to put 2 classes together for a particular class, maybe a special class that has joint classes, you can go there. You can choose the number of lessons. Now, this has got something called double periods, maybe even triple periods if you want. Me personally, I like to put as many double periods as I can, but it can make the timetable not fit, especially with breaks. You can choose the classroom and then you click OK. So here's my timetable that I had earlier. I've got all the subjects in there and the classes and classrooms and teachers. Right click, go to lessons. Now I need to build here. The quickest one is new lesson. My teacher is going to be Mr. Bex. He is going to teach English. The class is there. That's fine. I don't need to change. I don't need to join any classes, but that's how you click it there. The lessons. Now he's going to teach them 7 times in the week. So I can just choose 7 singles and add it, and the 7 are there. But I don't like single periods, because what it creates is the teacher goes, teaches someone else, come back. So they see them too often in the day. You'd rather just see them in a block of 2. So what I'm gonna do, just gonna change it to 2 doubles. So that's 4 lessons. 2 times 2 is 4. And then I'm gonna add 3 singles. And trust me, when you build the timetable, that's going to work. Oh, I forgot, we're going to need to have the classroom. It's going to go in their home classroom. Click OK. So now I've got 2 doubles, 4, and I've got 3 singles there. Here it says only 5 because the doubles affected, but if you just go to classes, you can see the count is 7. So I've definitely added all the English hours there. So once you've done one class, you need to repeat for all the lessons in the class. So you need to copy across for all lessons. I'll show you that quickly. If you right click here, I've done all the lessons for that class. You can see some double periods here for history, math. You can see the classroom's different. Once you start getting experience with the software, this all starts making sense. Then you need to repeat for all classes. So I've got 5 groups, I've got to do this 5 times. If the classes are very similar, so you have the same level and they do the same courses, then you can use copy to. I'll show you that. If you go in to the lessons, right click lessons, then I select all of the lessons. Now they're going to have the same teachers, they're going to have the same classes, The classroom is going to be different, but that'll change because I put it as home classroom, remember. If I select them all, if I go to copy to another class, now you can choose all the classes or you can just choose one. I'm just going to choose one for now. Now, magically, they've all appeared in B1 as well. The lessons are all there, copied in. You can, if you just want to change the teacher, just edit the lesson, go in and change. So that's fine. But as it is, that's what I wanted to do. Once you're finished, you want to just double check that you have the right number of periods, because you're not finished yet, you've still got something to do. So go back into the timetable. And if you go up to classes, then you can see a count. Use the count function for this, and it tells me I've got 32 classes. None of them are placed, none of them are on the screen yet, but they're all there at the bottom waiting to get placed. So I've got 32, I'm happy there. I'll just double check the teachers. My count for the teachers, Ronaldo's got 25, Beckham's got 35. Bit of a problem there, so I might need to look into where the timetable is, the problem there. So that's helpful to see where problems are. So do you remember I changed 7 classes off Beck's and gave them to Giggsy? That's where the problem is. I need to correct that. And yeah, double check the teaching load as I just did. Now, one thing you want to do, the timetable software will make the timetable now. Before you do that, you might just want to place the lessons, because some lessons are so important to you, you want to fix them in place. That lesson has to be in that period. So for this, you drag it and drop it into that day in the period. Why would you do this? Well, one, you might just want to have your personal touch to the timetable, your preference, that's fine. You might know that there's golden periods. So if you've done any analysis on attendance, you can see that periods 3, 4, 5 in the day are the best periods, especially not on a Friday or a Monday. The middle of the week, 100% of students attend, whereas period 1, period 2, you might have a bit lower attendance. So when you place these periods, make sure you lock them into place. You do this by right-clicking on the lesson and selecting lock. So I'll show you that now. Here's my class. One thing I like to do, I had class teachers, and I like to put those class teachers first in the week so they greet the students. So my class teacher for this class is Ronaldo, I think. Ronaldo is class teacher for A1, so he's got a chemistry class. I'm going to throw that in there. And then go on, I want him to see them at the last period of the week. That's all that matters to me really for this. They're in. Now I can either right click and click lock, or I can right click on the group and click lock row. You can also right click and lock the day if you want to. B1, my main teacher is Bex, and you repeat like that. So once they're all locked in, then you're ready to go. Now we're at the magic stage of the software, and it's generating the timetable. So this is where the software does all the work for you. Everything's ready, let it do its job. So our subjects are in, our classes are in, our classrooms, teachers are all done. We've made the lessons, we've placed any lessons, and we've locked those lessons in, the important ones we wanted to place. So you're ready to go. You click on Generate New. You choose the constraints. Remember we put constraints on how many periods per day consecutive. My thing is say, allow relaxation. It means that they're not going to force the constraints, but they'll choose them if they can. Then you click on the timetable generation, and that's it, it's made. You're waiting for this magic picture at the bottom. So here is my timetable. I've locked in the periods at the start of the week and the end of the week. That's what I like to have in my lesson. I'm going to go to generate in my timetable. I'm going to go to generate new. I'm going to allow relaxation, or I can go strict, so the constraints are forced, but I don't think it's going to be bad. And I'm going to click start timetable generation. It was so quick, it was over in a second. Now this is what you want to see. Conditions broken, 0. Cards left, 0. Now, when you've got a complicated timetable, you're going to break some of your constraints. Cards left, though, means that they couldn't place that lesson, so you've got a problem you need to fix. But this one, it's a nice and simple timetable for this tutorial, and it's worked fine. So, okay, we have a timetable, everything's in place. My advice, save, lock everything in so that it's fixed and you don't mess around with it. So, you're going to face some problems possibly on the timetable. I've been doing this for 11 years, so you know, you tend to see the problems before they happen now, but they can still pop up and you need to fix them. So these are the kind of problems you might have with some advice. Check the timetable on the dashboard, just see how it looks. You can tend to see balance, you can see the colors and how many times they're seen green, so that makes sense. You built it, so you should understand it. If you have cards left on place, so you have that, it doesn't say 0 on cards placed or cards left, then you've got too many double periods. You need to change them back to single periods because they're blocking the placement. You might have too much time off for your teachers. So if you've given a teacher time off in certain areas, it might be the thing. Change the X to a question mark and then the constraint will go over it. It'll never place on a time off. You might also have locked too many periods when you were placing them. If it's an unbalanced timetable, so you've got too much teachers, too many hours, then you might need to go back to the planning stage. Same for if there's too many times they see the teacher, you might need to look, or you might need to change it manually. High teaching load. All schools want as high a teaching load as possible for budget reasons, but sometimes it just doesn't work with a timetable. I don't have the exact math, but I've seen that if a class is being taught 32 times a week, then 28 would kind of be the maximum based on how flexible the timetable. If it's one teacher, one class, it'll work. But if it's 3 or 4 teachers, it just doesn't move around right. So it's roughly 80% of the available lessons and it won't work. Classrooms are not showing. Maybe just open the class. That's a line on the screen like this picture here. It's got a line on the screen. Just change the classroom, then take the lesson out and put it back and it'll be there. If the color's too dark, edit the background color like I showed you before. And then there's a wonderful button called the Test Advisor and it'll help you before generating. So if I just go to the Test Advisor, is it on this one? If I click on test, no, that's wrong. If I click on this one, I think I had too many people, yeah. This one, Test and Advisor, it's telling me that Mr. Beckham has too many lessons. So that was he's got 35 and I need to move 7 across. So that'll tell me before I generate, I need to go and fix that. So now I'm going to look at print preview. This is how it looks when you print it and share it with your teachers or whatever department. So you have the name of the class at the top, you have the days, you have the time, the periods and the times, you have the course, the room, the teacher, everything's showing on here. If you flick through each one, you can see all the classes and you can start to see it. You can also check the teachers. So this is what teachers will know where they've got to go. So yeah, everything's starting to look clear now. These are what the timetable will look like. So now you need to share the timetable with people. You need to share it with student services, teachers, students, and stakeholders. So for student service, you need to open the print preview, print the timetable, and my advice is print to PDF. Don't print it on paper, because if you make changes, you'll need to print again. Share via email, the PDF, and then they can transfer it to Banner. You might need to share the course codes for each course if you just leave the course codes off. You would also need to share the teacher IDs because that's how they input teachers onto each subject. For teachers, again, print to PDF, share with them via email and share with them via WhatsApp web. I won't show that on this video, but there's another video on my YouTube channel if you want to see how to use WhatsApp web and share documents. Students, these ones need paper versions to be stuck on the door, so print that one as a normal color version on the door and put it outside their classroom or on their notice board. And then of course other people need to know the timetables, so you might want to share the PDF with managers or other stakeholders via email. So this is how you would print. Back to print preview, go to print, and then here I've got the options for printers. I'm going to go to print to PDF, click OK. I'm going to call this, well, it's my MUFC timetable, and I'm going to put teachers at the end. You can remove the ROS bit if you want. So this is my teachers version. And then I have a class version. And then when you go in here, here's the two PDFs. Oh, there's the timetable, all in PDF, ready to be shared. Okay, so that's the end of part 2, creating the timetable. The next stage would be enhancing, making the design and look of the timetable better.